and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to take a look at the Sardakk N'Orr, specifically their leaders and mechs, now that Prophecy of Kings expansion has been released for Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I always think of the Starship Trooper bugs when I see them. I mentioned that in the Player's Guide video. Has never changed. They freak me out when I look at them as well. They're absolutely gross looking things. Big combat dudes. They like to smash everything, punch everything, blow everything up. The Exo Trireme Dreadnoughts are super strong, and they get angry when they get involved in combat, in invasion combat. So that's the basic gist of them. Remembering that they don't start with any technology was a big disadvantage for them in the base game, specifically because there were so many objectives in the game that relied on that. Now that there's more objectives thanks to Prophecy of Kings release, that's not as bad. It's still not good, but it's you're more likely to have different types of ways to score than relying on technology. So that's immediately something to note about the Sardakk N'Orr before going into the details on the new bits and pieces they've gotten for themselves. So just keep that in mind. That's totally in their favor. So without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at their leaders and their mech. So your agent is called Taro. Their commander is Gaham Sekus. Their hero is Chaval the Harbinger, and their mech is the Valkyrie exoskeleton. Let's take a look at these in more detail then. The agent has the text: at the end of a player's tactical action, you may exhaust this card. If you do, that player may place 2 infantry from their reinforcements on a planet they control in the active system. So stick a token down in a system, do your tactical action, do whatever you're going to do, and then exhaust this card to put down 2 infantry on one of the planets in that system. Now bear in mind, this is a once per round action. You're going to exhaust the card. It's going to be done for the round. You're not going to be able to do it again. And one other thing, it's a player, not necessarily the Sardakk N'Orr. Doesn't have to be you, so you can give somebody a gift of 2 infantry at the end of their tactical action if you want to reinforce somebody who may be friendly to you, an ally, or someone who's just slowing down the leader, maybe, for example. Sardakk N'Orr love their infantry. Having 2 more of them is nice. Getting 2 minimum every round where you've got some dudes on a planet is good. It's a nice little bonus. Like the rest of the Sardakk N'Orr stuff, nothing too complicated about it, just more muscle. However, it does come in handy for unlocking your commander, who unlocks when you control 5 planets in non-home systems, and in order to control those planets you're going to need more infantry. So there you go. When you've got those 5 planets, so in non-home systems, so your 2 planets that you have at the start of the game don't count, you have to get 5 more. You flip over your commander and it gets the text: during the commit ground forces step, you can commit up to 1 ground force from each planet in the active system and each planet in adjacent systems that do not contain one of your command tokens. Alright, so let's say you are the red and you're the Sardakk N'Orr here. You activate a system, you fly in with a carrier with dude on it, and you initiate ground combat. You can put as many dudes as you want from your carrier in, but this ability allows you to commit forces from planets in adjacent systems that don't have a token in them. So you could take a ground force from this planet, drop it in as well. You could take one from this planet and drop it in as well, because there's no token in there. You can't take anybody from the system with the token that you've used before in it, and in this one you can use 1 unit as well. Now ground force means mech or infantry, so you could put a mech down from the adjacent system if you want to, or you could use an infantry, but you can only use 1 total from each one, which means that if you're able to spread and kind of create this wall of infantry, they can push all the way along when you've got this commander unlocked, meaning that the Sardakk N'Orr suddenly become this really powerful, constantly moving forward force of infantry. Now bear in mind as well though that you have to put a token into the system in order to do this, so you won't be able to combo up with the same guys moving them on to the next system immediately after that. You're going to have to wait until this token is taken out either at the end of the round, but then that's another incentive to use the warfare strategy card, which allows you to take these out as well. So think about that when you are invading other people's systems early. Now, something else to bear in mind as well is that this is an always on ability. It doesn't get exhausted like your agent does. It's just always there. And it will also apply to anybody who you give your alliance promissory note to in return for something else. So you're going to be able to give other players the ability to do this if you want. So that's a nice bargaining chip to have on the part of the scary bug monsters. So that's cool. So I really like this commander. I think it's got a lot of potential to make these guys stronger. Moving on to their hero, which unlocks after you've scored 3 objectives, same as every other hero. When you've done that, you flip it over and it becomes the Teklar Conditioning, or Brood Swarm, which reads, after you move ships into the active system, you may skip directly to the commit ground forces step. If you do, after you commit ground forces to land on planets, purge this card and return each of your ships in the active system to your reinforcements. So this is like straight up going to land right on the planet rather than get involved in space combat. You are paying a price here. You are returning your ships in the active system to your reinforcements. That means they're going back into your supply, your box, not to a different system on the board. They're completely off the table. You're purging this card, which means it's once per game, so you're going to be doing this once total, which means you're going to probably want to stock up on a bunch of carriers with loads of mech units and infantry. Fly into a system that you want to take, maybe someone's home system, maybe Mechatol Rex, maybe one of the new legendary planets, something very valuable to you either way. You're going to purge this card, and then that means take the ships off the table and it becomes a big fight between your ground forces and your opponents. Now bear in mind, you are good at bombarding if you've got your extra trireme, so this is not necessarily the right thing to do. However, if you've got a whole lot of infantry and you've got mechs, you're probably going to want to just take over a planet without having to worry about any ships. So you just skip that whole thing with other players' ships defending somewhere if you want to do this. And it's a once per game thing. You could fly into Mechatol Rex that's full of War Suns and Dreadnoughts and everything. You would ignore them and conquer the planet. So maybe this is a Hail Mary play where you got Imperial, you want to get an extra victory point towards the end of the game. This is the time to do that maybe. So super weird hero ability, a major game changer if you can pull it off in a good way. Also super risky and potentially expensive if you're trying to fly in with expensive ships, which you probably shouldn't. You should stick to carriers probably for this. I kind of imagine the ships just crash landing straight onto the planet and a big load of these bug dudes swarming out of it and attacking everything in sight. It's kind of a cool image. And that is the hero, a very different, crazy once per game action. Last but not least, let's go to the mech here, the Valkyrie exoskeleton, which has sustained damage, cost 2 and combat 6. Of course, all Sardakk N'Orr units have plus 1, so they can hit on 5s instead of 6s. And this one reads, after this unit uses its sustained damage ability during ground combat, it produces 1 hit against your opponent's ground forces on this planet. So even when you're killing this guy, he's doing damage to the ground forces on the other side, like some crazy berserker mech that is in the style of the bug monsters themselves. And that's really it for the Sardakk N'Orr. They're quite simple. They still like just blowing everything up, really, even more so with their hero, and just constantly doing damage with their infantry. They love their infantry. They love hitting, invading planets, doing all that stuff. Nothing has really changed. I think the fact that they still don't have the technology, nothing's been done to give them early technology, might still hinder them quite a lot in the game meta. I'd be curious to see if that's still a problem for players who have tried them out since Prophecy of Kings has come out. If you have, let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Any session reports you have, if you've played with them or played against them, fire away and let us know. I think these guys are quite fun to play, but I find them very hard to win with, and I'm not sure that the upgrades that they've gotten here in Prophecy Kings are enough to bring them into that top tier of factions. just yet. But I'd love to be corrected if that's not the case, so do let me know. So that's kind of it for Sardakk N'Orr. Thanks for watching. This has been Rulebreaker. We will see you again very soon for more. Thanks very much.